zoom out and lift your head up and like really get honest with yourself and ask yourself the questions of what are your intentions behind what you're doing? Why are your goals what they are? Why do you do what you do?
Welcome to the Wealth Strategy Secrets of the Ultra Wealthy podcast, where we help entrepreneurs like you exponentially build wealth through passive income to live a life of freedom and prosperity. Are you tired of paying too much in taxes, gambling your future on the stock market, and want to learn about hidden strategies for making your money work for you? And now your host, Dave Wolcott, serial entrepreneur and author of the best-selling book, The Holistic Wealth Strategy.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Wealth Strategy Secrets of the Ultra Wealthy. Today we're diving into a truly transformational journey of resilience, financial mastery, and personal growth. Joining us is Hannah Hammond, a real estate entrepreneur and private lender who built her wealth from the ground up, starting with grit, determination, and a relentless commitment to self-improvement. Hannah shares her incredible story of how growing up in financial hardship fueled her drive to achieve financial freedom and fulfillment. From her first $1 million real estate sale at just 18 to becoming a multimillionaire and discovering the deeper layers of wealth beyond money, Hannah provides invaluable lessons for entrepreneurs and investors alike. In this episode, we explore her journey from financial scarcity to financial freedom, the importance of cultivating the right mindset and mastering self-awareness, how she uses real estate and private lending as powerful wealth building tools, and her holistic approach to health, personal development, and the true meaning of wealth. Hannah's perspective on creating sustainable success and living a life of abundance is one that will inspire you to rethink how you approach wealth and freedom. And if you like today's episode, be sure to subscribe and share with a friend who would also find value. Let's jump in. Hannah, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, really awesome to have you on the show, Hannah. Appreciate your time and everything. And I think your story is one that's really going to inspire the audience and get them to think a little bit differently, right, about how they're approaching their wealth, how they're approaching investing. So definitely want to start with your origin story and tell us how you got into real estate and, how did things really begin for you?
Yeah, so my story began with a lot of pain and a lot of suffering in my family because of the lack of money. Later on, I realized there's many more levels to suffering than financial, but as a little girl, I thought it was all financial related because the topic of conversation and arguing on a regular basis was due to the lack of money. So from 6 or 7 years old, I was on a quest to make money, and I was just very entrepreneurial, and I would try to find little ways to create things and sell them to my neighbors, or started babysitting really young, or started researching and reading books as early as possible, which ultimately got my hands on Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. When I was 13, I read that book, and that's what made me decide I was going to be a real estate investor and an entrepreneur. But, people called me the McFlurry millionaire because my dad wouldn't buy me a McFlurry when I was 6 or 7 years old. And I told him I'm going to be a millionaire so I could buy myself a McFlurry. Still a food lover today. And so that was the first memory I had of saying I was going to be wealthy. And of course, that's a pretty young age to have this dire desire for wealth and freedom. But that was it. I wanted freedom so bad. And I knew that, nobody was coming to save me. Nobody was going to really, how I felt as a little girl was nobody was going to protect me. Nobody was going to provide for me. Nobody was going to support me. And I couldn't have the life that I wanted to live or be happy if I didn't have money. And so that became an obsession of mine for many, many years until I eventually had become a multimillionaire. And I still was unfulfilled to many degrees, although the fight or flight was kind of out of my system and I had my needs met, and that feeling was amazing to have security and properties and passive income and all that stuff. But at that point is when I started looking deeper and doing the personal development and the meditation and those types of more spiritual practices and just finding peace within myself, because, money's a piece of the puzzle that you absolutely need, and it's amazing to have. And there's so much impact you can make when you have an abundance of it. And it allows you the freedom to do the other things in your life that truly will make you your most actualized self and realize like the fullest potential of who you can be as a human. And it's really hard to do that if you don't have money or freedom, right? Because if you make a lot of money, but you're a slave to it, you still can't do that. So there's a kind of a yin and a yang there.
Yeah, well said. So how would you define wealth?
I would define wealth as the freedom and ability and capability to do whatever you want to do in your life. And that's from a financial perspective, from a relational perspective, from a hobby, a purpose, a fulfillment. There's so many deeper layers to what wealth truly means to me, because I've been in situations where I didn't care what kind of money was in the bank account or what kind of wires were coming into the account, because I was so miserable. I didn't enjoy what I was doing. I was working 80 plus hours a week. I was just chasing the next deal or the next closing or the next hit of dopamine, or chasing approval or love or something, right? And that wasn't wealth to me, regardless of how much money was in the account or coming in. And so when I truly became wealthy was when I was able to shift my perspective and my intention and my motivation from a place of fear and scarcity and lack and trying to love, to obtain love, to a place of abundance and connection and love and gratitude. And when I was able to make that shift in my intention and motive behind everything I was doing, that's when true wealth started pouring in. More money started pouring in, but not because I was seeking it and forcing it and needing it so much for the wrong purposes. And not just in the, wealth in the money sense, but wealth in my life, like amazing, abundant relationships, abundant health, abundant freedom, abundant joy and happiness, and everything kind of shifted.
Yeah, I really love that. And I think too often people just are so caught up in this other concept of really being rich, right? Which it's more of the, the tangible things, right? Whether it's the car or the house or the vacations or those kinds of things, people think that that's really wealth. But I think you've really well articulated, right? What is true wealth? What does that really mean? And the concept of freedom is really fascinating, right? Because that's what is really underlying all of this, I think, for all of us that we're looking for, right? To be able to have freedom, not only with money, but right, freedom with our time, right? So we can, take charge of the day the way we want the day to unfold. We want freedom of purpose to kind of wake up every day and be excited about the work we're doing, or the relationships to be able to choose, who you want to work with, who you want to spend time with. And, it's really great that you're able to share that story with the audience, because I think we're surrounded in this social media world and, this whole world where it's all of this, it's all in your face, right? What wealth maybe should be or appears to be, but you see people who've gone through this amazing transformational journey as you have and really understand it's something totally different.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And, on the financial perspective, I think wealth too is, tying it back to freedom, is money that just continues to flow to you without you having to trade your time for it, and once you get to a point where, and that could be a different amount for everybody. And it's not like, oh, you have a certain amount of money and that makes you wealthy. I don't think that at all. But just being able to know that your lifestyle and your bills and your hobbies and all of that can be provided for through assets that continue to fill your bank account with money without you having to trade your time for it. And you can count on that reproduction of cash flow for generations to come, through rental properties or whatever your means for cash flow is. I think that's in the financial world, that's really what wealth is, because a lot of people can sell a company and have a big exit or make a large sum of money and they could lose it immediately. And that's, not true sustainable wealth. It might be like being rich for a minute, but not truly wealthy.
Yeah. So Hannah, how did at an early age you figure out how to become a successful investor? Because some people may have actually, received a lot of money, they've made a lot of money, right? But then maybe they invested in stock market or crypto or something and then lost it really quickly. But you were able to quickly understand that investing in assets, investing for cash flow was really the way to go. So how did you figure that out so early?
I knew that I had to make money before I could really invest in any assets. And so I chose sales, real estate sales. I wanted to be a real estate investor. So I just happened to decide to make real estate my business as well for making money. And I really enjoyed the relationship aspect of it. And it just seems simple to me. Like, it's not that difficult. You buy something at a lower price, you add value to it, and then you sell it at a higher price. Or, me as an agent, I would just represent clients who were looking to do that and help them find properties and get my commission doing so. So I was able, at 18 years old, I had my first sale, which was a $1.1 million sale. It was 10 years ago. And that was a $36,000 check. And I took that check, I put some reserves in my bank account, and I used the rest of the money to find a property that needed to be renovated and buy it, renovate it, add value to it. I needed a house to live in at the time because my parents were splitting up and I had just turned 18. And so I lived in it while I renovated it, and I saw the appreciation in it. And then I was able to buy another one and rent that one out. And that started my cash flow. And I just lived really cheap for a long time. I knew how to stretch a dollar. And so every dollar I made, I reinvested back into real estate, and I didn't splurge on myself, and I didn't go out, and I didn't, I never celebrated, which, I'm not saying not to do that. I had a lot of issues mentally. I was a very depressed person back during that time, but still I was able to live below my means and know that delayed gratification was the way that I was going to be able to build my wealth quicker so I could have freedom sooner. And that was a price that I was willing to pay. But I made lots of mistakes. I didn't have a mentor. I had books, and books were always my mentor. And I'm so grateful to have books. And internet was then becoming a thing, but there wasn't like podcasts like there are today, or YouTube. YouTube was around, but there wasn't the type of information that there is today. So I kind of just lived by Rich Dad Poor Dad. I just read that book and I just went for it. And I made a lot of mistakes. I've lost a lot of money. I was terrified. I remember buying that first condo. I was so scared. I was like, what if the market crashes? It's been going up for, 5 or 6 years since it crashed. And I was so scared. But looking back, you learn all of the greatest lessons from just taking action. And so I always just had the mentality, I either win or I learn. And what's the worst thing that can happen? Like, if I lose it all, guess what? I'm right back where I started. It's not, who cares? I rebuild, and then I have lessons, I have knowledge, and I have more confidence moving forward because I know what not to do the next time around. And so I think about that now, even as I scale companies and I take bigger risks. I still have that fear. It's not about not having fear. It's just courage is just taking action in spite of fear. And so I try to mitigate my risk. I try not to over leverage myself. I try to make really smart, good, calculated decisions that aren't foolish or putting my, just burning the ship like some people's approaches, but still like knowing the difference between fear and risk, right? And being able to take those calculated risks. And if the worst that happens is I completely screw up or the market completely collapses or whatever, then okay, I have a lot of knowledge and skills and experience, and I'm going to rebuild. And nobody could take that from you when you have the skills.
Yeah, that's such a powerful mindset to really have to win or learn. That's such a great takeaway, I think, for people out there, because we always feel like, if we lose something, we're really losing something, but it's actually the learning experience that's even more powerful. And, most investors all the way up to Warren Buffett will tell you that they became great investors by having losses along the way. That's what actually makes you sharper. If you've never been through economic downturns, you can't expect to continue to, move ahead. So these interesting things that we have in the past that are really challenging times, actually, that's the raw material for your growth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really cool. So I was surprised that you didn't have a mentor because, especially at a young age, someone, whether it's someone in your family or you're connected to someone, kind of gives you that, encouragement to head down a path. But it's amazing that you had the foresight. You took the purple pill like so many of us did, and then really tried to figure it out, right? Take action. And I did the same when Robert's books came out. I mean, they were so empowering because, really, it was really a massive paradigm shift that he made, versus the typical financial planning model, right, of this accumulation theory where you just put all of your eggs in the stock market and then you hope that at age 65, right, you're going to have a nest egg and then take out 4% a year and hope you don't outlive your money, right? Which is just, and that's still the advice today, right? But this model is just so different when you can buy, tangible assets that are cash flowing. They have tax efficiency to them. They have equity growth to them. That's how you can actually create legacy growth.
Right. Yeah. Real estate is incredible. I mean, with the tax benefits alone and the value add component and the fact that the demand is never going to disappear for housing, I think it's just such an incredible investment, whether it's, and I invest in other things too, but I will always invest in real estate because it removes all my income tax. It's like, how could you not invest in real estate? The tax benefits alone are insane. The government wants you to own real estate. So yeah, I think it's amazing. And then also I think with all the institutions that are buying up so much real estate, they're going to control more of the pricing and have a lot of that inventory. Real estate's going to always be valuable, and the government's always going to print money, which means the assets are always going to go up in value. So it's great. But I think it's a great complement, with lending. Like I have the debt fund, and I discovered private money lending as a great complement to real estate investing because it's more liquid, shorter term loans. It's collateralized by real estate. It's pretty much guaranteed set returns. It's very low risk, and it's a great complement. And then the cash flow from that, I put back into real estate and the more illiquid, longer term holds and wealth building. I think the real estate's really more of like the wealth building side. But yeah, it's a really, really fun game. If you can just learn how to enjoy it and learn how to play it, it's so fun. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. Are you focusing on any specific asset classes, markets that you like in particular?
So right now, I like small bay industrial is kind of where I've been focusing a lot of time on. But in all honesty, I haven't been doing a lot of real estate buying over the past 2-3 years since the rates went up and the market's been a little bit difficult. I've done more of hard money lending. Private money lending is where I've been deploying more of my capital, and a lot of crypto investing and things like that. But I like the small bay industrial. I think especially localized in my market, prices are still pretty high. Interest rates are still high, prices are still high. So there's definitely still deals out there. It's just harder to find them. And I've been doing so well on the lending side of things. I've just kind of been waiting to see what happens in the coming year with the commercial market. We'll see. It's kind of hard. Some people think we're in big trouble in the commercial space. Some people think we've already bottomed out and we're on our way back up. So it'll be interesting to kind of see where we land.
Yeah. Yeah. For us, we're typically in multifamily type assets, self-storage, mobile home parks, and those types of things. But we haven't, done one of those, I think, in 18 months now, just because of, the interest rates. And hopefully this year, we will start to kind of get out of this market, right? As things, I think it's all about buyer and seller expectations and where values are. So it'll be kind of interesting on the buy side. I think there will be some really good opportunities presenting themselves, but we're not going to be the first ones, to really jump in, right? We're going to let the market kind of start to be on that upswing a little bit before we jump in, so we can really be conservative with that.
Yeah, I know. It's so interesting because it's like, I don't see how we can get more expensive, So people are like, oh yeah, well, we hit the bottom and we're about to start going up again. I'm like, it is so unaffordable out there. I don't know how we can have hit the bottom, because I don't feel like this is a bottom at all. Cap rates have gone up a little bit. There was some price adjustability, but nothing major. Like the numbers, in my opinion, on most things that you're going to find on the market, cap rates are low. Like here in Arizona, I mean, it's, I have clients from out of state that want a 7.5 to 9 cap. I'm like, it's never happening unless it's a burnt down building, So it's a little bit, it's hard when you have to put down 40% or whatever just to break even. It's hard to justify those numbers. But yeah, and then just still with the lack of supply, it's just a little difficult. And I don't know other markets. I'm just speaking to Phoenix. I know every market can be so different, but I'm hoping that we see much more of a price reduction than we have seen in the past year.
Hey, it's Dave Wolcott here. Let me ask you something. Are you tired of the same old financial advice that leaves you spinning your wheels? If you're ready to discover the real secrets the ultra wealthy use to build unstoppable wealth, then I've got something just for you. My new book, The Holistic Wealth Strategy, is your ticket to learning the proven strategies that the top 1% don't want you to know. This book isn't just about money. It's about building a life of purpose, freedom, and lasting impact. And I want to give you a free copy. Visit holisticwealthstrategy.com and get yours today. It's time to level up your financial game and create the future you deserve.
Yeah. I mean, our underwriting has basically taken a lot of deals where sponsors will say that, hey, we're buying this on a discount and it looks great, but it's still way overpriced in our book, right? And then in terms of like the rent projections that they're forecasting, to your point, I don't think the market can actually, some of these local markets, I mean, they've already had so many increases. Right. Mm-hmm. And, I think people are suffering out there, the renters, right? It's like something's got to give,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Any other asset classes outside of the, your private lending that you like or you're investing in?
Yeah, I mean, I like storage. I like mobile home parks. I love apartment complexes, multifamily. Honestly, I like pretty much every asset class where there's opportunity. And that's kind of where I've been in my commercial brokerage too. I'm unbiased to asset class. I represent clients for all asset classes. I've done everything literally. So I just like things where there's opportunity and there's cash flow. I know people that do really well in retail because a lot of people don't really look at retail because they worry about Amazon or things like that. But there's some really good opportunity in the retail centers, like the retail kind of strip malls that need value adds and lifts. And they have Amazon can't replace getting your nails done, or the barber shop or the convenience stores, like those types of things I feel like are always pretty safe and are pretty much going to be in good demand. If you have a good, I go to my nail person every 2 weeks, whether I need it or not, I'm over there and I'm always going to need an in-person building for that. And I mean, I guess there could be a world where that gets delivered to your house, but I think those things are pretty safe. So I like retail as well. The flex space is good, but anything where the numbers make sense, I think it's a good asset class to be able to pivot to. And the market's always shifting, like office has been kind of struggling and hurting. I do well in medical office though. I do like medical office. So I think there's just truly opportunity in all asset classes.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting. Pretty soon we'll probably have Tesla robots doing your nails among many other things in the future.
I know. As I was saying that, I was like, yeah, you know what? Maybe it's sooner than we think.
Yeah, I think everything is being, innovation across the board with AI. So it's pretty fascinating. But good points. And real estate is so local, right? We all know that, right? Different markets. So I think there's different opportunities even in 2, tier 3 type markets, right? Where there's nice niches and the riches are in the niches, right? If you can find those deals, but at the moment, it's harder to find those deals, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I have a couple big real estate guy buddies out here of mine that they just specialize in light industrial, like single tenant buildings, warehouse buildings with storage yards. Mm-hmm. And they crush it. They have a few $100 million worth of real estate in their portfolio. And they just do that one little thing because the hedge funds aren't on them. And it's lower competition and they've just found a nice niche there. So I think just whatever you're like passionate about and you can build a good reputation in and build a good network in, then could be a great opportunity.
Yeah. Hannah, what have been some of your most pivotal learning lessons as an investor?
I would say to make sure you account for the risk. Like for instance, with the adjustable rate mortgages in the commercial space where these properties are hitting their rate caps and things like that. I think everybody was underwriting deals on double-digit rent growth and 90 to 95% occupancy and no account for the interest rate doubling. Like these are things that can happen in markets, and this is where people really get their hands tied. And so just being conservative on those projections, I think, even if the market currently is seeing a double-digit rent growth, not to just project that for the next 7 years in your underwriting. So that paired also with take action. Like don't be so analysis paralysis or so afraid or so uncertain that you don't have a crystal ball, that you just don't do anything. And I think that's how you learn and you build the experience and the confidence. And so I think more than anything, it's just take action, don't procrastinate. Like most of the really big players out there, they're very, very fast decision makers. And if you can just make quick decisions, you can win strictly by making quick decisions. If it takes you a day to make a decision that your competition is taking them a week, you're going to win. And so that's like my tagline for HB Capital is capital at the speed of opportunity, because opportunity moves fast. It comes quick and it goes quick. And if you're not seizing that opportunity, then you're always going to be left behind in the dust. Yeah.
Sage advice. And I think one of the ways investors can really maximize on that is actually just getting crystal clear on what your strike zone is and looking at the asset types, the markets, the operators, really understanding what it is you're looking for in investment. So that way you can filter out the things that don't come across your radar, that don't fit. And then when the ones that do, you can make that quick decision, right, to be able to act.
Exactly. That's awesome advice. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's really powerful to have that, and understanding that the entire market. I mean, it's crazy, right? The entire kind of multifamily market, probably over 95% of the loans that were being done in the past 5 years were all the underwriting was on adjustable rates, right? So that's where I think the industry is really challenged, and even in office space as well as multifamily. So hopefully we're going to get out of it. And there's a lot of really cool innovation going on with different, debt funds, pref equity, bigger players coming in and doing things. So hopefully that's going to help kind of, soften the blow a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. It's unfortunate that people have to lose for others to win sometimes. I always think that there's always a win-win situation in every deal that we do, but it's tough. Like there are market cycles. It's just the way of the game. And there's always going to be market cycles for as long as history goes. And unfortunately, there's always going to be people that get caught up in that, either driven by fear or greed or a little too much optimism or a little too little, not enough risk mitigation or properly calculating risk. So, but at the end of the day, so many of the big players today lost everything in 2008, and they are, built back and built bigger than ever. And so that's what I kind of talk about of like, just take action, because if we are always just so afraid of what could happen, because anything could happen. I mean, the whole world could just be over tomorrow. Like we live in the middle of we live on a space rock in the middle of expanding nothingness. And we're just like, oh, okay, let's just talk about real estate. But we don't know what's going to ever happen in the world. It's crazy out there. So even if you lose it all, you're going to be fine. Like you're going to come back from it. And as long as you're a good person and you're doing everything that you can to fulfill your promises and to make smart decisions, if something crazy happens that's completely out of your control, it's going to suck and it's going to be difficult and it's going to be a long, slow, hard time, but you're going to come back from it, and you're probably going to come back from it tenfold.
Yeah. Hannah, you've really come so far on your journey in such a short amount of time. Are there any personal productivity habits, routines, or hacks that are really core to you?
Yeah, I've been on a transformation over the past year, and it's been to prioritize my health, my mental health, and my physical health above all else. And, I worked really hard. I worked a lot of hours. I worked more by the time I was 25 than probably most people had by the time they were 50, just from, all I did was work. But I feel like I could have gotten a lot farther and would have been a lot happier in the journey if I would have prioritized my health first. And I mean, I can't say that because hindsight's always 2020, and I wouldn't be here today if I didn't do what I did. But now it's like zoom out and lift your head up and like really get honest with yourself and ask yourself the questions of like, what are your intentions behind what you're doing? Why are your goals what they are? Why do you do what you do? Is it just for the next hit, the next high, the next deal, the next paycheck, the next validation? Or is it like truly coming from a place? Like, are you truly happy deep down when you take it all away? Are you like truly happy when you're just by yourself with no stimulation? And my answer was no. And now, the first 4 hours of my day, I don't look at my phone. I don't answer calls. I don't do meetings. Like, it's me time. And that's a non-negotiable unless it's a crazy thing fire. But wake up, go to the gym, hydrate right away. I journal. I walk, I walk to the gym. I walk 20,000 steps a day. I take walks after I eat. I make set time to eat and not eat while I'm working anymore. And I meditate every single day, twice a day. Yeah. And I know for all entrepreneurs, that's like a death sentence to them. But usually what you run from is what you need the most. And so I really try to lean into the things that I don't want to do. And meditating has changed my life. Learning to be an observer of my thoughts and learning to slow down and actually be a witness of my mind and my body and not just be all consumed, and just learning that I am not my thoughts and I am not my body. They're just things that I'm in. This body is the suit I've been given, and these thoughts are what my lizard brain is trained to do for survival, but I don't need to be all consumed in them. So I think just having that practice of self-care and self-development, and not just like, I was so obsessed with business and making money and doing the next thing. And it was like such a frantic energy, and it wasn't fun because it was just so stressful all the time. And it was so much pressure on myself. And now it's just fun. I can just enjoy it. And I'm not like tied, my worth isn't tied to my goals. And I'm not, I like setting goals and I like building and I like growing, but it's coming from just a place of fun and creation. And my health is always first. And so at the end of the day, when I go to bed and in the morning when I wake up, like, I don't wake up with that pit in my stomach of like, oh, here we go again. Like, I wake up just happy and excited for the day. And every day is a day that I live, that I enjoy. I don't like live for my weekends. I love my Sunday where no one bothers me and I do, all my stuff. I definitely love that. But every day is just a day of your life, and all you have is the present now. And I think everybody deserves to be able to live a life that they truly love. Like, I think we're taught no pain, no gain. And I think that mentality really robs a lot of people for a long time, because they think that pain means that they're doing the right thing. And I'm trying to not live that way anymore, and really enjoy the creation of everything every day.
Yeah, such a powerful message. And, I feel for people because, I was the same, right? It was the grind, it was the hustle, and, that's what you do, right? I think all of us can relate to that. And so many of the listeners are probably in that position now, but you have to force yourself to take that time to get away and really do some deep thinking and get clarity on your vision, get clarity on your goals, and that connection to yourself, as you're saying, is just so important, because before you know it, another decade's going to go by. And if you're in a job that you're not happy with, you're in a toxic relationship, right? That's becoming an energy vampire to you. It's really suffocating. right? And so it's great that you're able to share that, because to me, that's really what wealth is really all about, right? You want healthy relationships, you want healthy health, right? Your physical capital as well, your spiritual capital, your emotional capital, right? All of these things really connect, and being able to have them, right, from a holistic perspective, that's really true fulfillment. And I think that is the journey of self-actualization, right, that we're looking to. But meditation as well, like I've got to say, like if you took away like everything from me, like I could only do, like 3 things. One of them would be meditation. If I was, incapacitated, I couldn't, use my limbs anymore. I mean, it would be like meditation, breath work is so powerful. And it does give you that opportunity to really, yes, just calm down, really think about your thoughts, think about your thinking, be intentional about what you're doing. And then ultimately that it's this lifestyle design, right? You're creating this ultimate life that you want to live, and it's a life of abundance.
Yeah. I think meditation is the most undervalued tool that we have in humanity. And it's so crazy to see the transformation. And I think, like with meditation, and I practice a couple different meditations, but one of them is TM, Transcendental Meditation, where you repeat a mantra and you can actually like transcend to another state of consciousness where you're not awake, you're not asleep, and you're not dreaming, you're transcending. And it's an incredible feeling. I can't even explain it, but it's like when you can start to, it's like the closest thing to brain control that you could possibly get to, in my opinion, because you're never going to be able to control your lizard brain. Like it's always going to have those thoughts that it'll always start leaning to the negative fear type thoughts. But the nice thing about the brain is if you say, think of an elephant, you think of an elephant, right? And so 2 seconds later, you might go back to thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose on this deal, or I'm a failure, or this person, whatever. But then you can observe, oh, okay, I'm not thinking of an elephant anymore. So I'm going to think of an elephant. And then your brain's going to think of an elephant again. And so as you practice training your brain to go to where you're guiding it to go, you'll be quicker to observe when your thoughts become not what you want them to be. And you'll be quicker to be able to change them to what you do want them to be. And so it's as close to brain control as you can possibly get. And when you're not tied to the thought of what you don't want to be thinking, you're not identifying with it. You're like, okay, that's not me. That's not my soul thinking that. That's not my true belief. That's just my lizard brain, wanting to survive right now. Then you don't have that emotional reaction to it. And because the thought comes first. And then if you identify with that thought, then it becomes an emotion inside of you. And then that emotion inside of you will create an action that you take. And so if you can stop it at the thought and you can change the thoughts and think, it's not about, oh, all I think is positive things, or all I think is this. It's just about being able to recognize when the brain is doing its own thing. And before you get all consumed and absorbed in it, you guide it to the direction that you want, of love and abundance and creation and all those things. So I think it's absolutely amazing. I think everybody needs to do it and practice it, because it is a practice, and it's the most difficult practice that you will ever practice in your whole life. The tactical stuff is easy. Like how to underwrite a deal is easy. How to buy a property is easy. Like the how-tos, that's easy. Like that information is cheap. What's difficult is mastering what's in here. Like mastering your mind. If you can't master your mind, you will be in a prison forever. And so many people are in a prison, and you see them. I see them. I see people, and because I've been there. I've been in a prison for so long, and it wasn't until recently that I started to feel free. But yeah, I think it's wild, and I never knew those tools. I never could have helped myself because I didn't know. But it had to get to a point where I'm like, okay, this isn't it. Like I need to figure something else out, because these holes inside of me are big, and I need to figure out how to not feel this underlying anxiety all the time. And it was absolutely life-changing. So I recommend, if anybody gets anything from this, is like dive in, read the book, Transcend, or The Myth of Normal, or How to Live Enlightened and Epic Life by, I think, Tom Ferry or Mike Ferry, his son or something. Yeah, it's all these books that'll at least start to guide you down that path and just teach you like, okay, here's some things I can do to start to get this crazy mind under control.
Yeah. No, you're so spot on with that, really, because your beliefs become your thoughts become your emotions, and your emotions become your actions, right? And so that can be either coming from the primal side of your brain, which is fight or flight, always looking for danger, right? Or it can be from the powerful state when you're innovative, when you're in flow, right? When you're creating, right? When you're in abundance, all these things. So we really do have the power to change that. And what I've found over the years I think I've been meditating for easily 15 years, but the neuroplasticity in your mind, you can actually, and apparently they've actually shown studies where they've done MRIs on brains, and like the brains have literally evolved and become like stronger and healthier because of with people who meditate. So you can, make your brain stronger doing this, but it's really such a powerful message, Hannah, to share that with the audience. Because if you guys can do that one thing, just get meditation incorporated into your daily routine, it will literally change your life, like 100%.
Yep. Yeah. And just that, I think the biggest thing is self-awareness. And I think so many of us operate disconnected, and we're being run by this operating system that we don't even have control over. And we're just disconnected. And I would do things like all my addictions that I've struggled with, food being the number one thing, is just like, I want to procrastinate, or I'm stressed out, or I'm sad, or I'm happy, or whatever emotions I'm feeling. It's just like the brain wants to go do this, and I'm not even present for the food. It's like I'm eating a cookie and I'm sending emails, and then I'm look down and there's no cookie. I'm like, who ate my cookie? Well, it's because I'm not even present or aware. And so just the meditation practice of slowing down and being present and being there, like in what you're doing. And if you're eating a meal, like being there, like I almost meditate on the meal and the taste of it and the feel of it and the process of it now. Whereas before, I wasn't even there for the meal. I was just putting food in my mouth and swallowing, and my brain is thinking about work or deals or how I need to go to the gym or how I need to do this or why is my issue here, And so I think it's just such an amazing practice to be able to feel that and be able to recognize like the messages that your body is giving you. Like I didn't realize I was so tense for so many years. I had horrible chronic back pain. It's actually Genius Network, Joe Polish. The first meeting I went to when I joined, they're talking about the book Healing Your Back Pain and how back pain is not actually from any injury. Yeah. And I thought it was from my scoliosis. And I read that book and started doing, therapy and healing. And I don't ever have back pain anymore unless I get super stressed out. And I noted, and now I'm like cognizant of my body and like, okay, that's because I'm holding my shoulders like this all the time when I'm stressed out, and I'm super tense and tight, and I'm not breathing, and all these different things. And meditation has helped me start to actually feel my body and feel my heart starting to beat, or like, what does anxiety really feel like in the body, or what does depression feel like, or what does excitement feel like? And it's really cool to actually start to like be here and actually be alive and not just be somewhere else in your thoughts all the time.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And here's a really nice stack for that as well, is if you meditate on a PEMF or grounding mat, it's a really good stack on top of that.
I love it. Yeah. Eminent Wellness. I don't know. Have you been there up in North Scottsdale?
No.
It's a great place. Also, Joe told me about it. A friend owns it, and they have a hyperbaric machine there, chamber. Cool. They have all the grounding mats, lasers. Like, I think I'm really excited for the world because these wellness centers are starting to open up and all these technologies, and it's so important. And I think so many people, the way society has built it is like you work 40 to 80 hours a week and you don't have time for anything else. And so I think it's just such a flawed system. And it's so hard because you can't truly take care of your health if you're working that much, and and take care of your family, and take care of your kids if you had kids, and have friends and relationships, and go to the gym every day, and do the healing things, and do the meditation, and have an amazing business. Like, it's really hard to fit all that in if you're just doing business, nonstop.
Yeah, 100%. Hannah, if you could give just one piece of advice to the listeners about how they could accelerate their wealth trajectory, what would it be?
Do the things that you need to be doing every day that are going to get you to where you want to go, even when you're not seeing the results. And those are the people that truly will be sustainable and successful. I think, it's just like me with going to the gym, right? It's like you just want instant results. But if you just show up to the gym every day and do the workout, you're going to get there. If you just eat just one day at a time and not thinking just about where you want to be all the time, like living in the gain of where you came from and not measuring up to the gap of where you want to be, I think is the best advice I could give for having sustainable success in any area in your life.
Yeah, perfect. Focus on the process, not the outcome. Mm-hmm. It's not the size of your bank account, right?
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
And measure against where you came from, and you've probably come some way, in some way, shape, or form. As a human being, there's things that you are better at now, mentally, physically, relationally, spiritually, than where you started, and being proud of that success.
Yeah. Amazing. Hannah, can't thank you enough for your time and your pearls of wisdom today. If the audience wants to reach out and learn more about you, connect with you, what's the best place?
Yeah, Instagram's the best place, at Hannah B. Hammond. And you can feel free to reach out to me directly, send me a message, and I will respond. And my links is in my bio to all my other channels and sites and businesses.
Yeah, we'll make sure to put it in the show notes as well. Thanks again. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Dave.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Wealth Strategy Secrets. If you'd like to get a free copy of the book, go to holisticwealthstrategy.com. That's holisticwealthstrategy.com. If you'd like to learn more about upcoming opportunities at Pantheon, please visit pantheoninvest.com. That's pantheoninvest.com.